everybody, and welcome once again to Real Shame, a show where we talk about our list of movie blind spots, movies that we haven't seen that we need to get on seeing. And we're doing just that. It's the Monday's episode. That's right. It's Monday's episode. My name's Andy.
And I'm Adam.
And today we are going to talk about a war movie, technically a war movie from 1988, and it's called
Beast of War.
Beast of War.
Or The Beast.
Or just The Beast, right. It's known as two different things. Yep. You can drop the of war if you want to. But before we get into that movie, we always like to start off Monday's episode with what we have been watching lately. Yep. So let's do just that. Adam, what have you been watching lately?
It's been a busy week, so I haven't watched a whole bunch, but I did watch one thing that we might have a conflict of interest in talking about.
Uh-oh. Why is that?
Because I watched a documentary about a movie that we've both seen in theaters, and blink if you miss. What? How do you say it? If you blink, you might miss us blurring at the background of that documentary.
Hey, we're not doing anything embarrassing, are we?
We're sitting in the theater watching a movie.
Stuffing my face with some pizza.
Yeah, we're just watching the movie. It's a documentary for a movie that I have an affinity of that my friend introduced me to. And that movie is called The Monster Squad, and this documentary is called Wolfman Got Nards.
Wolfman's Got Nards!
Yeah. It's a fun documentary. I mean, it showed, I don't know a whole lot.
It's good because we're in it.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, of course.
In the back.
You got to rent it. You got to download it. No, I thought it was fairly done. I mean, it's for me, it's a little bit middle of the road of these kind of documentaries and stuff like that. It kind of tries to do a whole lot. Like the documentary is kind of broken up into chapters where they're talking about the making of the movie and like kind of the impact the movie had and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's good because it gives you like a holistic view of the movie. But I kind of wish maybe it spent more time on the making of stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's the stuff I find the most interesting aspect of it. But I do like it. I think it's worth checking out, and came out towards the end of October. So it's out for everyone to rent stuff.
How does it compare to Best Worst Movie?
I mean,
which is a documentary about Troll 2, if you don't know.
I mean, it's they're kind of in different leagues. So
Best Worst Movies in a better league?
Yeah.
It's in the major leagues, this one's in the minor leagues?
Yeah.
Okay.
And not to like begrudge or degrade this movie or anything like that. It's just I just think it's a little bit better. I think the one really cool thing about Wolfman's Got Nards is between the chapters they have fan artwork, and that's really cool seeing. Like, it's just cool seeing like the different fan artwork, and there's probably a lot because it had a lot of impact and stuff. And you get like a different swath of people from the industry, and they have the director, I think it's Frank Decker, come in and talk about it a little bit, and then you have Shane Black, who wrote it with Frank Decker, talk about it and stuff. So and then the guy who put it together was the main character from Monster Squad, the kid that wears the Stephen King Rules shirt in there. So it's pretty cool.
Cool.
So I like that a lot. I suggest checking it out. And you know, we're in it for like a second. Blurry in the background.
Damn it.
I know. If you wanted me to love the movie, you should have put more of our faces.
No, we need a close up.
Yeah, Mr. DeVille. I thought you were holding me up. No. Last thing I kind of watched is new season of Mandalorian started. Mm-hmm. And in the first episode, it has an actor, Timothy Olyphant, in there. I don't think that's a spoiler. And me and my friend were talking about it, and it made me want to rewatch the Justified series, the one from the mid 2000s with Graham. Graham Yost is the showrunner of that show. Have you ever watched Justified?
No.
I'm a big fan of the series. I think it's really well done, really well written. So I'm happy to dive in that. I basically devoured the first season in about 3 nights. It's a 10 episodes, so it's not huge, but
it's my kind of series.
So yeah, it's I think it's 4 or 5 seasons. They're 10 to 13 episodes apiece. The second season has someone who you like, which is esteemed character actor Margot Martindale.
Oh, nice.
And she plays the best baddie. It is chilling, her character.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She is amazing in the show, and it's really well written. I said that already. When I wanted to be a TV screenwriter, I looked at the show a whole lot because that's kind of where I wanted to take my career, right? So those are the two things I've been watching. What about you, Andy? What have you been watching?
I've got some Halloween holdover leftovers, whatever you want to call them, that I'll just go through. First of all, I watched Kolobos, Kolobos,
No.
Kolobos, Kolobos. I don't know. Anyway, it's a horror movie from 1999, maybe 2000, somewhere around there. Right there, Millennium. Right there at the new Millennium.
The Millennium.
Never heard of it. I got a copy of Arrow Video, put it out on Blu-ray. They put out some kind of, they tend to put out, they're more boutique kind of label.
Yeah.
They put out stuff that has a lot of special features. They really do take a lot of time and care in putting together their Blu-rays and their DVDs. But apparently the guys, it's like two guys that wrote and directed this movie. They were fresh out of film school, and this is, according to IMDb, this is the only thing that I saw that they ever directed.
Okay.
So it's a horror movie. You could tell it's very influenced by Italian horror like Suspiria, Dario Argento. And I watched the special feature stuff after I watched the movie, and of course they talk about how that influenced them or whatever. But I didn't think the movie was that good. But I think the movie was kind of elevated for me when I watched the special features, because listening to them kind of talk about their passion and about what they were trying to do and the kind of, pitfalls that they encountered in trying to make a movie, it really kind of endeared the movie to me because of that, because I was like, oh, that's really cool. I mean, it's hard to make a movie, and for these guys to have gone out and done it back then, fresh out of film school, just trying to make something that they wanted, people to see, and kind of not really succeeding because nobody really saw it. I don't think it really hit theaters back then. I think it went straight to video, and even then nobody really rented it. But I'd say for that reason, I thought the movie was kind of cool, overall. I don't know that I'll revisit it anytime soon, but I thought it was worth watching. And I thought it was kind of cool, again, more for the special features that I watched afterwards. I thought they were interesting about. And now it has like a cult following.
Yeah, for sure.
Or whatever. I rewatched It Follows.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen that since it came out in theaters.
I think that movie's great.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's really, really good. I liked it just as much this time watching it.
It does the horror stuff well, and I think it sets the scene and the mood really well.
Yes, it does.
Like, it just feels like ethereal and feels kind of like
totally
dreamy a little bit, and I think I love that about that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I feel it's very kind of art house horror film. There's no real jump scares. There's nothing like that. It's more about, like you said, like the mood of it all. I really dig that. I dig the music score. Music score is perfect.
Isn't it like synthwave kind of a little bit?
Yeah, it's synthesizer and stuff like that. But it's a cool movie. I've heard talk of a sequel. Please don't. Like, I feel like the movie is standalone. It ends where it should, and that's it. Please don't make a sequel, please.
And
please.
It does one thing that I like a lot on horror movies, which is it takes something from real life, like it takes its idea from real life and it makes it into a horror thing. So it's something that's kind of grounded, even though the whole thing is kind of mystical and supernatural, but this kind of, you can tell where the stem of the idea kind of came from, being a very realistic thing and kind of growing with that. And I think that's when horror is at its best.
Yeah.
Is when it can take, real life, maybe mundane things or maybe scary things from real life, and then just kind of elevate it and make it a little bit more supernatural and just build something out of it.
Yeah, totally. So watch It Follows if you've never seen It Follows.
For sure.
It's good. And then two more movies. One was The Rental, which is the new movie that Dave Franco, I think, wrote and directed. It does not have Dave Franco, but it stars his wife, Alison Brie, and Dan Stevens is in it as well. And then two other people that the girl, I can't remember her name, but she's in A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night or whatever, the vampire movie. Yeah. She's in that, which I've never seen, but it's the girl from that. Sorry, I can't remember her name. And it's another guy who I have no clue who it is. But it also has Toby Huss, who I've always loved because he's Artie, the strongest man in the world from The Adventures of Pete and Pete. Yeah, it's got Toby Huss in it. But I actually really liked it. I thought The Rental was quite good. It didn't go the way that I was expecting. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything because we're not reviewing that movie, but I thought it was worth watching. I thought it was a pretty good, I believe this is the directorial debut for Dave Franco. I'd say he's got a future if he wants to stay behind the camera not that I don't dislike him in front of the camera, but if he wants to stay behind the camera and make some more horror films or whatever, I'd be interested to see what he does next.
Didn't Dan Stevens do another horror movie that you liked too?
The Guest, yes, which I absolutely love. Yeah.
So maybe we can do a Dan Stevens double feature.
Let's do it.
Because I haven't seen
Guest
either of those.
Yeah, I think they're both good. And then finally, the last horror film I watched, probably my favorite out of all of the horror movies that I watched over the last few weeks, that's One Cut of the Dead, which is...
I heard great things about it. I was really going to watch this on Halloween, but I just didn't get around to watching it.
I did, and I was so happy I did. This is a really terrific movie. The less you know about it, the better. So please, if you have not seen it and you have a desire to see it, and I would strongly encourage you to see it, do not read anything about it because it will spoil it for you. If you go into it blind, as I like to do with movies, and as I did with this movie, I felt like I got much more enjoyment out of it after watching it. But by the time it was all over, I had a grin from ear to ear. I absolutely adored this movie, and I would watch it again in a heartbeat. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
so.
I've heard nothing but positive things about it.
The one thing I will say, when I first started watching it, I thought it was a little rough to begin with. And I was
hear
like,
you have to get through the first 30 minutes.
Okay, maybe saying too much, but
that's what I hear.
But yeah, stick with it. If you start watching it and you feel like it's a little rough, as I did, stick with it because you'll like it. I think you'll like it.
That's exactly what I've heard. All glowing things. It's something I probably need to watch for sure.
That's good. I liked it. So that's what I've been watching.
All right. That's what we've been watching. Let's get into our film review. And this one is a podcast first. This actually comes from a viewer suggestion.
Yes.
We had a viewer write into us, realshame@gmail.com, plug, asking us to review this movie because this viewer, I'm not going to say their name, found this movie, discovered it, and thought it was a very good movie, and thought that he should spread the word and have all 30 of the people that watch our show review it, which is awesome. I'm glad that happened. That is so cool. It had me smiling from grin to grin when I read that email. So very cool. That being said, let's get into 1988's Beast of War or The Beast.
See, it is called Pashtunwali. It's the code of honor.
Pashtunwali.
What are you doing? Now, 3 obligations. First, Milmastia, hospitality.
Milmastia.
Second, Badal, revenge.
Badal.
Third, Nanawate, the obligation to give sanctuary to all those who ask.
To all.
All?
Even the enemy.
All.
It's directed by Kevin Reynolds and is written by William Mastrosimone.
Sure.
Yeah. It's an Italian name, it looks like, and I am not good with that. So Beast of War follows a tank crew in the Soviet-Afghan War as they struggle against a band of guerrillas. It has Jason Patric in it and a bunch of other that guy kind of people, and even has almost a blink if you miss it, Stephen Baldwin. He's in a smaller role, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is a movie that both of us haven't seen, but since it's your week, I'm going to throw it over to you. Yay, nay, what'd you think? What'd you know?
So before we get into any kind of review, I just want to piggyback on what you were saying. We do want to hear from you, the viewer. So we're very thankful that this viewer suggested this movie, but we like that. I mean, and keep them coming. We want to have more suggestions, even if I've seen it. But if he hasn't seen it, we'll watch it. Or if he's seen it and I haven't seen it, we'll watch it. Or maybe if we both seen it, we'll put it on a Wednesday episode or something like that.
For sure.
If both of us have already seen it. So please, realshame@gmail.com. Please send us more suggestions.
It's a dialogue.
Yeah. And then the other thing I was going to say before I get into it is if you watch this movie, because I don't know that a lot of people are aware of what was going on in Afghanistan in the 1980s. So because that's when this movie takes place, is 1981 is when this movie takes place. What had happened was in the late 70s, there was basically almost like a military coup, like a revolution in the late 1970s, and a pro-communist party, it's called the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, took control of the government in Afghanistan. That did not sit well with a lot of the people that were living there at the time. So the Soviet Union, who were communists, of course, came in to back the government at that time and basically invaded Afghanistan from December of 1979 until 1989 for almost a full 10 years. I think they pulled out before the 10-year mark was quite hit. But that's kind of what was going on. So that's where this movie takes place. You've got some tanks, a battalion of tanks that are going around and they are trying to ferret out who they perceive as rebels, or mujahideen as they refer to them in the movie. But basically they're going around and just blowing stuff up, trying to kill, to quell any kind of rebellion. That's basically sets the scene for this movie. Having said all that, in my dime store history lesson, and I'm no expert, this is my Cliff's Notes version, just to set the scene for you. I thought this movie was a mixed bag.
Okay.
I will say this, I did like it overall. But I thought it started really strong. Like if this were a marathon, it came out running in a dead sprint. I felt like it got a cramp along the way and it kind of limped to the finish line. Yeah. I think is the best way to describe it. But I would say overall, this movie is worth your time, or it was worth my time. Because again, I think I'd vaguely heard of this movie somewhere along the way, but I'd never seen it and didn't really know what it was about. Based on the title, I knew it was like a war movie because it was the Beast of War. But I did like it overall. I liked kind of the story of it. I liked some of the performances. I did not like Stephen Baldwin at all.
Yeah, no, he's over the top a little bit, but I think he plays such a small role that he can get away with that.
I felt like it wasn't small enough. He and the other guy, played by Don Harvey is the guy's name. I thought both of their characters, and maybe it was just the way that they were written, they were kind of supposed to be kind of bumbling and annoying kind of characters, but man, they grated on my nerves. But I thought Jason Patric was quite good.
I thought he was. Yeah.
And I thought George Dzundza, who plays the tank commander, was quite good.
Yeah, those two were the standouts for me.
Yeah, they're excellent. And the interpreter.
The interpreter,
played by Eric Avery, had to write his name down. They were all good. And then on the so the rebels in the movie are the Pashtun people, Pashtun, Pashtun, and Stephen Bauer basically plays the Khan, or kind of the leader of their group, and he's a guy that he's in like Scarface.
Oh, really?
with Al Pacino, and recently he's been in Better Call Saul. Actually, yeah. So I mean, he's had a long career. He's been in a lot of stuff. You'll probably recognize him if you've seen like Better Call Saul and some of those kinds of movies. But I liked it overall. Some things. So I guess pros and cons. I really liked the cinematography. I liked the story. Some of the things that happen in the story, I wasn't as thrilled with, but overall, I'd say this was a pretty decent movie overall. What were kind of your initial thoughts?
So I know you know this, but I don't know if our audience knows this. I'm not a big war movie guy.
Yeah.
So I have that, and this was viewer recommended, so I was really nervous going into this movie. Because I really wanted to kind of like it, because I'm glad that someone took the time to write us an email and tell us about this movie, which is amazing. And I have to say, I actually like this movie.
Good.
I thought it was, I am 100% with you. I think probably maybe the first 3/4 of the movie is pretty good, pretty solid. The ending for me, it does. I put in my notes. It fizzles out a bit at the end.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's multiple endings. I think it suffers a little bit of the multiple ending syndromes.
I do too.
Which kind of hinders it, right, a little bit. And the other thing is I just don't completely buy into Jason Patric's character arc. Like, I just feel like the things he decides to do, I don't know if I'm necessarily 100% on board with that.
Okay.
Like, if I actually believe that would really happen, kind of thing. It felt like more like it did it because it's the reason it's written that way, not really that way, right?
Right.
But I thought like the opening sequence with them blowing things up and burning people,
Pretty brutal.
Yeah. And what they do to that one person is crazy, and it does set a tone, and you kind of know what the stakes are immediately in this kind of movie. And I think, like you said, I think Jason Patric does a really good, just kind of like, he's kind of like an everyman. He's someone that we can kind of latch onto and kind of understand his story. And, George does, How do you say his last?
I think it's Dzundza.
Dzundza is a
Dzundza.
very good like foil to him, and you can kind of see where he goes with that and stuff like that. So I actually I would probably I'm probably pretty favorable to this movie.
Yeah.
This would probably be a movie I would check out again for sure.
I think it's an excellent kind of B movie, kind of
Yeah,
for
yeah.
what it is. And again, I would recommend this to people because I definitely thought it was worth watching, and I did like it overall. I just had some things to pick with it, a lot of which you brought up. I do feel like it suffers from too many endings, and it does kind of fizzle there at the end. I mean, at the end, when it becomes more of just Jason Patric in a race against time to try and shoot the RPG at the tank, I didn't really care for that ending. I think even before that, we're spoiling everything.
Yeah.
It's no longer Halloween. So, but I think prior to that, I was really enthralled kind of with the movie when there was still all that tension between George Dzundza and their interpreter Eric Avery.
Yeah.
Because as you said, the movie starts off, sets the tone. I think immediately you know that Dzundza is ruthless. His character is a ruthless tank commander, and he definitely proves that as he goes along the movie. He mistrusts the interpreter because he feels like they're working.
Mistrusts almost everyone.
Yes, but initially his mistrust is mainly focused on their interpreter, and he ends up doing something bad. Not to give too much away. Again, I could spoil it, but I'll refrain. But as it goes on from there, I understand he was kind of driven, and he has this focus of, I guess, getting out of the valley or killing more rebels or something like that. I guess I wasn't entirely clear. I know they're trying to make it to Kandahar Road, and they've got a map.
I think it's because they got separated from their squad or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why they want to get to Kandahar Road so they can find their way back.
And there have been other movies, like somebody in one of IMDb review described him as like a Captain Ahab, chasing a whale. And I was like, well, I'm not sure what his whale was, but I could see the whole like myopic kind of focus, like I'm only going to think about this one thing. But it was obviously to the detriment of his own unit. Like they find a chopper that is willing to take them back to safety or whatever, he's like nope, we got to get back in the tank or whatever. I mean, it's decisions like that. I mean, yes, I get it. I'm not saying the movie's not good because I don't agree with what he did, but I was like, I'm not really sure I'm not entirely clear on what his motivation is, I guess, and maybe I'm just dumb. But I just didn't. I didn't fully buy into his complete just denial of reality. I mean, that tank's not going far. It's leaking. Yeah, they get more fuel for it, but it's leaking oil.
But I don't think. Okay, so I think I do want to kind of give a spoiler.
Okay.
Section just because
big spoilers from here.
Just because it's like we did with some of our own movies. It's one that not a lot of people have seen.
Yeah.
So I'd say that. Before we jump into spoilers, we both say seek it out.
Yeah.
It's easily runnable on Amazon. So back to your thing. I don't think he knows that the tank is leaking. I think that's something we see from Jason Patric's character point of view. When he knows the tank's slowing down, he does know, and I'm talking about George's character, that they're running low on brake fluid because that one guy's turned it into alcohol, right? Yeah. But I don't think he kind of understands the stakes, the way the tank actually is. And also he told them to meet him he got the gasoline and everything, and he told the helicopter to call in reinforcements at like the entrance of this kind of canyon. Yeah. So I think to him, he thinks that he's going to make it because he has these things set up where they will see him out. It's not like it's a last ditch run or that kind of stuff. Right. Yeah. So in my head, it kind of makes sense, and I can kind of, maybe I'm perceiving more into the movie than the movie gives us, but I do kind of see like him, he talks about, being tank boy and talked about his history and stuff like that. So
that was
obviously he has,
boy. I was like, tank girl, tank boy.
I was like, man, that was the movie.
Where's Lori Petty?
That was the movie I told you we should have paired with this. So I do see kind of like that PTSD kind of stuff, and he does have a very particular sense of the world now because of all that. Like because of his experiences and stuff. So for me, he felt pretty well flushed out, and I can kind of see where he's going. I just for me, so that's being said, and we can jump back to that. But for me, Jason Patric, I do not see a world where he could kill his fellow soldiers, right? I could see him maybe killing George's character, or killing the commander, or leaving him for dead. But I don't see where he would fire a rocket and kill the other people that are under his command, right? And I just feel like that asked too much out of my belief in the movie and stuff like that.
I actually didn't have a problem with that. Well, but just because I feel like they had saved his life. And again, so let's get into the saving his life part. So as the interpreter kind of explains to Jason Patric in a very pivotal, crucial scene, that the Pashtun people have a code called Pashtunwali, which I read outside of the movie that apparently it's like 12 principles. In the movie, they only mention a main 3. They are, I'll probably butcher the pronunciations, but Melmestia, which is hospitality, Badal, which is vengeance, and the most important one in this movie, anyways, is Nanawate.
Yeah,
I said that
Nanawate.
somewhat correct. And that's basically giving asylum or forgiveness to. So even if you've killed somebody, you killed this lady's son, you can still invoke Nanawate or ask her for Nanawate, and she gives you asylum. She helps you.
Yeah.
And so basically, Jason Patric is left to die with a grenade under his head.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, that was a kind of a cool scene though. But I was like, man, that's cold. That's cold.
That's very cold.
But so the women happen upon him first, and they're going to stone him to death.
And start stoning
They're
him to death.
vicious in this movie.
Dude, that's what I was gonna say when he said it. Like the women are all about the batal.
Yeah.
Let's jump back to that real quick later.
But so the women find him first, and then the men find him as the women are kind of starting to throw rocks at him, and they are intervene because he says Nanawate. So they basically take him in, and he helps them from that point on, which I thought was kind of a cool part of the story.
Yeah, in the cave, and him working on the RPG and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then the movie kind of goes from there. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really have a problem with him trying to, because I feel like at that point he's indebted to the Pashtun people that have helped him. Also, George Dzundza was obviously a complete dick to him, but really so were the other 2 guys.
But it seems like Stephen Baldwin's character just went. It seems like the other 2 guys just went along with it.
And that was another thing. I felt like they were really complicit, like very easily. It's just like, I mean, I know they're going to obey their chain commander, but I get that. But it's like they put up zero fight. Yeah. But then
they saw what he's done to all these other people that kind of like
at the same time I thought about that.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I'm being silly about that. But they're the ones that are kind of like, all right, we'll tie him up. But yeah. I mean, I think it was easier for him to do because he's firing at a tank. He's not shooting them to their face. Like he doesn't have to, because once they do get out of the tank, he doesn't try and kill them. They basically let them go.
Because I think I can see that. I think like what he feels indebted to is destroying the tank. So it's not necessarily the crew inside the tank.
Although that might kill them too. But he doesn't have to look them in the eye. And pull the trigger.
I can see that, but I see what you're saying, but for me that just doesn't ring true. But it doesn't matter because them ladies come and they drop a bunch of stones on the tank. Yeah, those ladies are ruthless, man.
Yeah. Well, I did like that part.
Believably so.
I was like, cool, because they have Chekhov's grenade. They do introduce that earlier that she's got the grenades. And then they do use the grenades, and there comes the downfall of the tank. Right. So I was like, it all paid off.
Yeah.
You Chekhov's grenade came back.
So I like the women's depiction in this movie and like all the stuff because they seem to not want to give him what is it called, Nanawate? Yeah. So they're all about the batal for me to horribly pronounce all these words.
Well, same here, but there at the end, it felt a little unfocused and a little bit too drawn out. But overall, I think we both agree this is a movie that's worth our time, worth your time. And again, thank you for the suggestion.
Yeah, and I just wonder like what Jason Patric's going to do or say like when he gets taken back to the Soviet lines or the people that he reports to.
I was surprised that he went back
to the helicopter. I mean,
you don't expect that, or I didn't expect that. I expected him to stay, but then he's like, "Well, I don't really belong here." So
and he's just like, then they're gonna be like,
Scotty,
and be like, "What happened?" And he's like, "Well, let me tell you,
funny story.
I tried to blow up our tank," and they're gonna be like, into the prison camp with you.
He'll probably leave that part out. But no, I believe George. So because none of these guys are Russian,
Yeah.
but I believe George Dzundza is a Russian. I looked it up. I actually thought he was Russian. I looked it up. He was born in Germany, so not quite Russian. I'm sorry.
But he's that guy. Like, you've seen him in a lot of English movies. Or American-based movies.
What I remember him mostly from is The Deer Hunter, which I think is a fantastic movie. And it's funny, I guess he retired because his last IMDb credit, he's still alive. His last IMDb credit was in 2011. He hasn't done anything since then. So I guess he's living the good life. In his old age, I don't know, but he's good and believable to me as a Russian tank commander. And yeah, Jason Patric I think does a fine job. And Jason Patric at this point had really only done like Solar Babies and The Lost Boys.
Was this before Speed 2? This was
before Speed 2's the end. That's where his career tanked.
Speed 2 Cruise Control.
Yeah, Speed 2 Cruise Control. It tanked his career.
Kirby's favorite movie.
Yeah. Yes, but no, he was pretty young, and like I say, he'd only done basically Solar Babies, and which nobody saw back then. I think now it's kind of a cult classic, but Lost Boys everybody saw, and then he did this movie. But he's got the wire rim spectacles. To me, he's believable. He had almost like a Fiddler on the Roof pear chick kind of vibe to him. The philosophical student kind of guy. So those two guys are definitely very good. I also like the music score. I don't know if you paid attention to any of it. The music score is done by Mark, I think it's Isham, Isham, maybe Isham, but I think it's Isham. I don't know. But I thought it was kind of moody and desolate sounding. Again, the vistas in this movie, they're just kind of out in the desert, but it's still very kind of pretty out there in its own way. It was apparently shot in Israel, but could have fooled me. I mean, if you told me it was Afghanistan, I'd be like, sure, it's Afghanistan. I don't know, but yeah, I like the music score. The budget was like $8 million, and it made less than $200,000, is what I read. So but I don't think it was released to hardly any theaters.
Yeah,
at all.
it doesn't feel like. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I didn't really do a lot of research as to why, but somebody in one of the IMDb reviews that I was looking at after the fact was saying there was like a change at Columbia Pictures at the time, and so
like
they didn't really know what to
change and
something. They didn't know what to do with the movie, so they're just like, wow, whatever. We'll put it in like 5 theaters, and nobody saw it. But I think it's kind of found a little audience on home video now.
Home stream.
It's not on Blu-ray that I'm aware of, but it's probably on DVD.
Yep.
We watched it on Amazon Prime.
We watched it on Amazon.
Yeah, and no critic score that I could find. But 85% audience score. But Leonard Maltin only gives it 2 stars.
Leonard, you got to get back at it.
Sorry, Leonard.
So that was our review on Beast of War. The viewer that suggested that also suggested a couple movies to pair with it. We appreciate those suggestions, but I kind of wanted to find another movie that was... We went through a couple of different movies to figure out what we wanted to pair with this. I wanted to really find one that was still about the same kind of era, the Soviet-Afghan war. But in the one movie we kind of settled on, we couldn't get a copy of. So we decided not to do that. So I wanted to go with another movie that's focused on a tank. And I did not want to go with Fury. Even though I've never seen Fury, I just didn't want to go with that movie. And I found another Soviet-based tank movie to pair with this. And that movie's called T-34. Came out in 2018. And so that's the movie we're going to watch on Wednesday to pair with this movie.
And I think the viewer, I don't remember what all they suggested to pair with. I want to say they brought up Rambo 3.
Rambo 3.
Yeah, so for a slightly cartoonish look at the same Soviet-Afghan war, Rambo 3 is your man.
Yeah, it was Rambo 3 and it was Zero Dark 30.
Okay.
Which I like Zero Dark 30, but it feels too modern and it feels like it's from the American perspective. And so I wanted something else from the Soviet perspective or something from the same time period, which I appreciate those suggestions, but that's the reason why I didn't go with them, right?
Yeah.
So I did a lot of Googling and I found this T-34, which looked very cool. So that's the movie we're going to pair with that, and we're going to do that in a couple of days, 2 days to be specific about that. And that was our review on Beast of Wars. Thank you so much for sending that our way. We really do appreciate it. We enjoyed that movie. And if you have a movie that you'd like to suggest for us to watch on the show, send that to us, realshame@gmail.com, along with your viewer questions. We're on social media at realshame on Instagram. And if you're watching us on YouTube, leave a comment below, like, subscribe, share, do all that kind of podcast, social media stuff, because that stuff really does help. And we'll see you Wednesday when we review T-34. Thank you so much. We'll see you.